Welcome to Narrow Path Journey. I'm Nicole, and in this video I'm going to show you a really easy way to build a garden anywhere in your yard using basic material. So stick around and we'll get right to it. Alright, first things first, we need something that will cover the ground so that plants and grass and stuff don't grow through our garden so easily. Here I'm using cardboard, as I found that cardboard breaks down really easy when it's wet, but it doesn't allow the grass to grow through so easy. We'll still get things like weeds that may grow up through, like some thistle bushes, but they get pulled really easy because the roots have a hard time establishing underneath these mulch beds. So we're going to lay this cardboard down to cover up the area that we want to cover with mulch. Next, we're going to decide what mulch we're going to use in our garden. For the garden that I'm using in this example, we're going to use pine needles and pine cones that are from the front yard. My daughter was kind enough to rake all of this into a pile, so now I'm going to take it into the backyard and lay it over the cardboard. Now, of course, we just go and lay it on the cardboard. It's as easy as that. Spread it out to cover the cardboard, and you're finished. Lastly, what you can do is line the edges with rocks, or if you have wood, you can use some 2x4s or beams, or you can just use logs that have just been cut down. You can buy little garden edge fencing pieces that you can stick in the ground to make it look cute. You can buy yourself some solar lights or some statuettes and really make your garden come to life. It's really that easy. It doesn't take a whole lot of work. It can be done within a day or two, depending on how large it is. And then you can just sit back and enjoy it. Mulch is something that we have a lot of around here, from grass clippings to leaves and things like that. So, you can compost that stuff, but I was kind of wondering, like, what else can you do with that? Let's right up here. So mulching and putting it in the garden was something that I was interested in. Also, not tilling was something I was interested in as well. Not so much because then I'd have to do less work, but because it doesn't disturb the ecosystem of bugs, insects, like little microbes and critters that are in the soil. So I was really interested in that as well. Using mulch as a way of gardening was something that I started to do a lot of. So I have this raised bed behind me here that we were planting some, lettuces and things like that in. And I wanted to expand that, I guess, a little bit. So this garden behind me here, all I used was cardboard, grass clippings, and rocks as a border. And this eventually will become like other gardens that I have. So I'm going to take you around my yard and show you some of the mulch gardens that we've made, just to give you an idea of what they look like later on, a year or two down the road. Okay, so first of all, here is that garden that I was pointing out to you. Basically just extended it. I had a very large piece of cardboard from a piece of furniture that we got. I'm not exactly sure what it was, maybe a couch or I don't know, some sort of appliance or something, but it was in the back shed. So I opened it up, spread it out, and it was nearly the same size as that garden. So I just thought, well, I'll lay it beside this one and make it into a garden. Now eventually we want kind of like this whole yard to be gardens and stuff. There's some bunnies over there. There's a big bunny in there. This here was a pool that we don't want to take care of anymore. We've had it up for a few years and we decided to take it down. So the grass was like all dead all around. We laid cardboard, and the reason for laying cardboard is so that grass and weeds have a harder time getting through it once we put all this mulch down. Now this is just a bunch of grass clippings that have been here for a few weeks. So I'll get around to that soon. Now this here used to be a horseshoe pit, so I didn't lay anything down in this area, like no cardboard, no paper, no nothing. This here I've had for probably a few years now. I haven't actually gone in and weeded any of it. And each year I'm having to weed it less and less. I've got some flowers in the corners that'll come up soon, but there's really not a lot of grass and like weeds that are getting through compared to previous years. Like this used to fill up quite a lot, being just a horseshoe pit that was abandoned, right? So anyways, but now there's not so much. I've had this for several years now, and the more that I pull up from it, the less I have to later on. So anyways, that's one of them. Now this one here, both of these gardens did have stuff put down like cardboard and like newspaper flyers. My rooster just loves interrupting, but he's having a good time right now. Okay, so yeah, I did put down, and I have hardly weeded this at all. I did a little bit around like the main edges, some grass like around the main edges I pulled up, but in the middle of these garden areas, there's like a big thistle one. I gotta get to that. Yeah, that's horrible. Okay, but I did not weed this area like inside. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot of growth in the midst of it where there's like, say, a cardboard box, but we still have flowers growing where we've got flowers planted. Not all of them have come up yet, but you know, it's, yeah. So that's an example of a garden that oh, and by the way, this one here, okay, we expanded. That one I had for maybe a year already. This one I just did last year, so this is the first year I've had anything planted in this side. So that one I have weeded a bit before. That was, I think, just flyers. This one I think is a big cardboard box that's spread out in here. So like there's like nothing at the moment that's growing through there, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to move from this garden to one that I have right here. Okay, this is a small pear tree and some currants. Okay, so there's like a pear tree in the middle. Unfortunately, we kind of had to cut it down because there was an ice storm thing that came through, and there was like a half-inch or quarter-inch layer of ice on everything, absolutely everything. Every plant, like our apple trees had blossoms on it, and the clusters of blossoms were just like covered in ice. It was like unreal. But anyways, what we found later on is some of our plants didn't quite make it through that. So 2 of our pear trees we had to cut down. So this is a pear tree we have in the middle here, and then around the bottom we have currants. And this garden here, I did not lay anything down. I weeded this like tiny little part here, like a little bit of some grass, but I didn't do much around the edges. I just did a little bit here. You can probably see that. But yeah, so this spot here, I did not lay anything down. All I did was I asked my husband, like once we planted this pear tree and we wanted to do these currants, I asked my husband if he would weed eat really close to the ground, like closer than the lawnmower could get. So he cut it really, really, really close all the way around this pear tree area. And we planted the currants, and I think we just laid grass clippings. I just laid grass clippings all around it, and then put the mulch and stuff like that, like wood chips. And recently, you can probably see there's little bunny poops in there. Recently, we've been putting our rabbit manure, like our rabbit shavings, directly on our gardens, because rabbit manure, unlike chicken or goat, say, you know, maybe no, I think goat too, goat like rabbit. Chicken manure has to sit for something like 6 to 9 months before you can actually put it in your garden, because the way that it breaks down, it causes a lot of energy to be let go or something. I'm not a whole expert on that, but unlike chicken manure having to sit and wait before you can use it, goat, I believe, as well as rabbit, you can just put it right onto your your plants right away. So maybe goat has to sit for a little bit. I can't remember, but I know rabbit you can put right into your garden, and it shouldn't disturb your plants. So now I'm gonna go to another garden that I did off in the yard, which was in another video that we did last year, my husband and I, and my son helped a little bit with that, I think. So this little garden feature here we did last year. Oh, actually, do you see that? We just passed that. Okay, that's an apple tree that's back there. Okay, as you can see, we're doing pretty much the same thing. I'm really tired of the grass and having to, like my husband, like we would like lawnmower as far as we could under it, and then he'd come with the weed eater and get as far as he could and, you know, cut down the grass. You know, tall grass, there's so many mosquitoes, so we're trying to cut down on a lot of the tall grass around our area and actually cut down on grass cutting altogether, which is one of the reasons that we're doing these gardens. Someone was just calling me. Oops. I'll call them back. But one of the reasons we're doing these gardens is to lower the amount of grass we have to cut, for example, and the mosquitoes around the yard and things like that. So eventually, even these small gardens that we have kind of dotting our yard, they'll expand, and we'll eventually make them even bigger, and they'll probably end up touching each other, and we'll have a yard that's just full of mostly edible plants is what we're going for, things that we can pick and eat throughout our yard and have like this edible landscape forest. So that's the goal that we're going for. So enough talking. We're doing that under the apple tree. There's this garden feature. See, it looked terrible, kind of like that strawberry patch over there, but just so you can, let me turn this. Okay, just so you can see, like, it does look like, wow, there's a lot of grass, but it's really not that bad. It pulls up really super easy. It pulls up really easy. And then there's just the mulch underneath. In this area, we didn't lay cardboard down either. And this was only done last year. So, I mean, eventually, like those other ones will have less and less to pull up. So, and our neighbor yesterday just like came and dropped off a whole huge pile of grass clippings, which cut a field, like a local field over here. And I've already used half of it between the apple tree and some of my plants in the front, which I'm doing the same thing. There is a bunch of mulch under there, like there's like bark from when my husband does his wood splitting and stuff like that for our wood stove. So there's a lot of bark and things like that. That's all in there. That grass easily comes up, and eventually I'll have less and less grass like you've seen with the other areas. So I'm trying to do that around the yard so there's less grass to cut, less long grass to cut or pull or whatever, or have bugs, mosquitoes in, and eventually have a yard that's an edibly landscaped yard, if that makes sense. Edibly landscaped yard. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Write a comment, tell me what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless. Bye.